Welcome to Punk Rock Radar. All you geezers out there, get ready because today we're doing Bad Religion. So grab your butterscotch and your ginger ale and sit back and hold tight while we rank these albums.
All right, guys, Bad Religion Day, and we have 17 albums to get through, so we need to keep it short and sweet. Matt, you can't go off on these tangents about who played the didgeridoo on Life Only. It's
Dude,
just
excuse me, as Buju Baton, Grammy winner, okay? One of the best, considered the best Jamaican musicians at that time.
All right,
so I won't go on
that's
any
enough.
tangents.
17,
Okay,
17 albums to get through.
Okay.
No Buju Baton today. Short and sweet. And guys, if you haven't noticed, we have a very special guest today. My oldest friend, Matt's oldest friend, and a Bad Religion expert. And on top of all that, one of the only people alive to have defeated a Komodo dragon in hand-to-hand combat.
I don't know about that last one, John, but I'll take the legend going on. But so happy to be here. Yeah, and I've known you guys forever. Happy to be invited, and I do love me some Bad Religion. I mean, I know you talked about how Green Day was your favorite band that got you alive. Bad Religion is that band for me, so happy to offer any thoughts that I have.
All right, we're happy to have you. Matt, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, man. I have some things to say about Bad Religion, maybe a hot take. You know, I'm known for my crazy hot takes that people usually disagree with, but I have a little analogy that I'm going to talk about when we're going through Bad Religion of how I feel like they sound. And, you know, we'll see if the people agree with me.
Is that for later? You keep us in suspense, or is that
Oh,
now?
you have to watch the video. If I give it to you now, like, what's the point, you know?
All right, fair enough. And guys, before we get into it, we do have a special video from Wes Hoffman. We're going to premiere just a few seconds of it so you guys can get a taste of it. The song is going to be What's Left of Me, and it's for fans of like Face to Face or that style, that pure 3-chord punk rock. I'm really into it. I think you guys will like it. Before we get into it, here is Wes Hoffman, What's Left of Me. All right, guys, that was Wes Hoffman. Definitely check those guys out. Matt, what did you think?
Yeah, it was good. It reminds me a lot of Face to Face, like you said. And I'm definitely going to check them out. And I saw, you know, I was listening to it on Spotify as well. Let's get their monthly viewers up. They're only at 900, I think 87. Let's try to hit 1,000 for them. Get them up to 1,000. Get more people following them and playing their music. It was solid.
I think it's doable. All right, guys, without further ado, it is time to start ranking these Bad Religion records. And we are kicking off with everyone's favorite, How Could Hell Be Any Worse? Lewis, what do you think of this one?
All right, well, How Could Hell Be Any Worse? Obviously is a super important Bad Religion album. I want to go ahead and okay, I can't wear this scarf the whole time, guys, but Bad Religion keeps you warm in the winter time as well. So you could buy all of their branded gear, I'm sure, at their website. But How Could Hell Be Any Worse is obviously a really important Bad Religion album in the scope of the band. And anecdotally, like how I got into Bad Religion was I listened to 40 Ounce to Freedom as a kid. I don't know, maybe 96 or 97 around that time. And they had covered, We're Only Gonna Die. And that's actually how I discovered the band. Wasn't the first album I bought of theirs, but it's how I heard about them. I think it's a very strong album for 80s punk rock. We're Only Gonna Die is a really good song. Latchkey Kids is actually one of my choice favorite old Bad Religion songs. Part 3 is really good. I mean, and obviously Fuck Armageddon's a great song. And are all staples, like, at live shows. I'm not going to rank it that high, I don't think, but I think I'm going to put it at a C. I think it's a pretty good album. Still really enjoy it. And I just want to put everything in context here. Any album that I kind of rank low here, I probably like more than most other albums that exist. So just keep that in perspective.
It's just the
So,
spirit of the game, yeah. So
Yeah, spirit of the game.
that's where I'm at, though. I think it's a great album, and I actually, if we were rating this as 80 to 85, like when it was released in the 90s, like with the other EPs, I'd probably rate it even higher because I like that compilation record better than just this record. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with this one.
understood. Matt, what about you?
Well, for today, me and John, or we put our list together. So it's me and John, and then Lou's going to have his own. So me and John came up with How Can Hell Be Any Worse? I don't know, maybe playing this album. My ears bleed. Quality's bad. No, I'm joking.
It is. Oh, it is bad. Yeah, I agree. I should have said that. Yeah,
The quality on here is not that great. So me and John agreed that we're gonna have to put this one in the D list, just because of the quality. But like as Lou was saying, the songs on here, We're Only Gonna Die, Latchkey Kids, Fuck Armageddon, This Is Hell, classic songs by Bad Religion. And if we didn't have to put certain amount in certain categories, it would probably be higher on our list. But since we need to fill out that 3 or 4 in the D section or 2, it's going to go into D for us.
I completely agree. Matt and I did not see eye to eye on many of these, but this one, I'm okay with the D. It's because of the recording quality and because we heard it like 20 or something years after it came out. It's just easy to put it in here. There's no nostalgia for it. There's clearly better albums, so D is the logical place. And guys, if you haven't watched our videos before, we do a maximum of 3 typically, but because there's so many this time, it's going to be a maximum of 4 in each tier, but S can only have 3 and a minimum of 3 in each tier. So that's why we're putting some in C, some in D. Doesn't mean it's a bad record. Up next, guys, we have Into the Unknown. Lewis, if you want to take it away,
Yeah,
I'm curious your thoughts on this one. There is a physical copy there.
Not really. It's not a real physical copy because I don't think it's ever been released on CD. So Into the Unknown came out, and I'm checking my years here, 1983, right? So this is an album that's been pretty much completely disavowed by the band, right? It came out, like I said earlier, they had a compilation album 80 to 85. This was not included. This was an album that pretty much destroyed the band. They broke up, they came back, and they went back to their old sound. Obviously proving that you shouldn't try anything new and just stick with what works. I'm just kidding. But for years, I was a Bad Religion fan in the late 90s when I started and into the 2000s, and I had heard about this album. You couldn't hear it anywhere. I know you think you could just go on the internet, and I think it's on YouTube now, but that wasn't an option. You have to go on Napster or something, and you can never guarantee you get the right thing. So I found this at a record store. I bought it for like $8. It was ripped from the vinyl, and it sucks. So it was like this long treasure hunt for like something I never really liked. I don't think it's technically like a bad album. To me, it always sounds like if you're watching an 80s movie and they come into like a scene and people are listening to some crappy 80s song on a boombox, like that would be this album, right? So like thinking about Bad Religion, like obviously I think they play a couple of these songs now live, but like I don't think a lot of people are going like, I can't wait to go see Bad Religion play like Chasing the Wild Goose, So for me, it's a D. It's a sure D. I don't want to speak to the merits. Maybe if I could listen to it remastered, but I think it only got re-released on vinyl in like 2011 in a box set, and I'm not buying it. So there you go.
All right.
So, John.
I'm not surprised there. Matt, what are your thoughts on Into the Unknown?
Yeah, so Into the Unknown, it probably should stay unknown. We're going to put this one into D, just because it's, we didn't like it. But I do have something to say about this one, though. I feel like this album got a lot of hate, when it first came out. And I feel like that this may have caused Bad Religion not to try new styles after this. Because I feel like with Bad Religion, I kind of compare them to like Play-Doh. So you see all these cool colors, right? And then when you bite into it, all the colors taste the same. And I feel like that happened because they got so much heat off of this album that it wasn't good. What are they doing? Keep it like, like the other ones, or they're keep it to your regular style, that they didn't really try anything new, and I wish they didn't get that much heat, so they could have tried maybe some other styles later on. So that's just my little hot take right there.
All right, so what I got from that is that you wanted Into the Unknown Part 2, but instead you got Suffer. Is that what you're saying?
Very disappointing for you.
So I'm with the guys here. I'll be honest, the first time I listened to this front to back was yesterday, and I'm definitely gonna go against the grain on some of my picks, but I am sticking with the guys here. This is belongs in the D tier. I will say it's not even bad for a Bad Religion record. It is just bad. Don't look for this. Don't find it. This is the Uno Dos Tres of Bad Religion's catalog. It is just no good. Guys, I think things got a little better, though, with the next one, with Suffer. Lewis, what do you have to say about this one?
Yeah, so obviously Suffer, I think, is probably, and I did say, like, How Could Hell is very important, but I think most people, when they think of Bad Religion, they think about Suffer, right? I mean, it's the prototypical album of, like, that late 80s punk into the pop punk realm, and obviously a super influential album. It is one of my favorite albums of all time. We got it on vinyl here, and as you guys know, the Suffer Boy was the first tattoo I got 19 years ago, right? So I mean, I don't even know, I can listen to this album A to Z, not nonstop. I mean, obviously a couple standouts, like I always really like Land of Competition's one of my favorites. How Much Is Enough, really good, and obviously Suffer's a great track. For me, and maybe this goes against what a lot of people would think. For me, this is an A. And we're going to be talking about some of my S's shortly, so don't worry. But I think Suffer is an almost perfect album in general, but in the scope of Bad Religion, I consider it an A.
Wow. Okay, guys, we're gonna get a lot of hate here because Matt, I don't think we have this in S either.
No,
right?
We don't have this in S. We don't have it in A. I think we have it in B. Is that correct, John? We have this one in B.
Guys,
for me,
we just lost 80% of the viewers, but go on, Matt.
Yeah, for Suffer, great album, but I don't think it holds up to the other ones that are out there where, we have that S tier or even that A tier. I feel like there's maybe about 6 albums that are going to be above this one. 6 or 7 albums that can be above this one. So that's why we decided to go with the B on this. How about you, John? What are your thoughts on putting Suffer into B?
I agree. And let me put it in perspective. We're coming into Suffer as people who already heard Dookie. We already heard Smash. We maybe heard Enema of the State by the time this came out. So it didn't have like that impact that a lot of the bands that are influenced by this are. But that's not to say it didn't change the game for modern pop punk. I totally appreciate that. But someone who was 3 years old when this came out and didn't hear it for a long time afterwards, I don't have that same sentiment as, someone who may have got this the day it came out. Now, if I was like 20 or so in 1988 when this came out, it would probably be my favorite record because it blows everything else from 88 out of the water. But in the scope of the discography, it is a B tier record because, they revolutionized the game, they evolved, and this was the start of it, but they did get better. So we are going B with this. I know it may be a little controversial, but we have our reasons. So Lewis has got an A, we've got a B, and we are moving on to No Control. Lewis, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, so depending on the day you ask me, it kind of varies back and forth, but No Control, depending on the day, is my favorite Bad Religion album. It's the first album that I bought at Media Play in the South Hills Mall as a child. And, Matt actually reminded me of that old system where you could scan CDs and then listen to sample tracks. And I actually, after he said that to me, I distinctly remember doing that. And I remember picking this album up and thinking, and I know you just showed it, but the most 80s cover ever. I got the reverse thing here. And then the back is hilarious too. And thinking it just looked fun. And yeah, man, I don't know what to say about this album. I think it's got some of the best Bad Religion songs in general. I think anyone who's played Tony Hawk is going to be familiar with You, which is a great song. But, I Want to Conquer the World, to me, is pretty much the Bad Religion song. That's the song I think of when I think of Bad Religion. I don't know if that's a common thing with a lot of fans, but man, everything on here just really hits me where I live, I guess, for lack of a better word. And I can listen to this any day from front to back.
All right, Matt, what are your thoughts?
John, we have this one in S tier as well. And this is one I had to kind of hold my ground with because I think someone didn't want to put this in S, but I was like, no, this has to go in S. I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I was looking at the songs. I don't think we had this one in S, John, did we? We did have this one in S. I'm sorry.
Yeah, dude, you fought me over this for 2 weeks.
Sorry. I was looking at the songs. I was like, yes, this one is an S. This is the classic, I feel like, Bad Religion album. I feel like anyone that knows Bad Religion or likes Bad Religion, this is probably one of their favorite albums. As like Lou was saying, you have the song You. I Want to Conquer the World. Change of Ideas, No Control. It's just a solid album. And I feel like, to me, this is Bad Religion to me. This album is Bad Religion. I feel like for myself.
All right. Well, I'm going to come out and say I disagree with both you guys on this. This would be maybe a B or a C for me if I'm being generous. And I honestly, I feel the same way about this next one too, Against the Grain. And I know you guys both like it. But I just feel like they got so much better than these. Like, we heard these after like so many better ones had already come out, and I can't like reverse nostalgia them. I can't. Like, some of these.
That's not true for me. I heard a lot of these early.
So, John, you were the same person that put Kerplunk as an S tier. When did that come out?
In 92, but I did hear it in 94. I heard it in 94 after I got Dookie. These, what is this, 89 or so? I probably heard it 12 years after it came out.
Okay.
You know what? I mean, 1989, I was like listening to my mom's like REM and Eric Clapton tapes. I didn't know who Bad Religion was.
John, are you telling me that when we used to cover Change of Ideas in the band, you were not happy about it?
So while you said that, when we played that show in Connecticut, I had to walk off the stage because I didn't know how to play it. I don't know if I never learned it.
I guess Brian just played it.
Yeah, I didn't remember how to play it. I never really cared for this album. But this one and Against the Grain, Matt fought me over, so they are both in our S tier.
Yeah, we put Against the Grain. Again, this is another solid album that came out right after No Control. This one has all those classic Bad Religion songs on it. The Modern Man, Against the Grain, 21st Century. So it's just another like Bad Religion album that I feel like when someone asks you about like Bad Religion or what songs you like, I feel like they're going to be coming off these two albums. Like, this to me is like, these two albums like defines Bad Religion for me, and that's why I had to put these in S, because this is like the Bad Religion sound. This is who they are. And I feel like these two albums, they really nailed it.
What do you think, Lewis?
It's an S for me too, and that's the last vinyl I'm going to show. I only brought the 3 because this is what a lot of Bad Religion fans call the Holy Trinity, right? So, Suffer, No Control, and Against the Grain. So, like I said, on any day, No Control might be my favorite album. I think objectively, I think Against the Grain is actually a way better album, but it just depends on what mood I'm in. But Against the Grain, I think I agree with everything Matt said. It's like a banger from front to back. Anesthesia is one of my favorite Bad Religion songs. It's so good. Turn on the lights, so good. And sorry, I have to check the track list sometimes because like I mix them all up in my head sometimes. But like Against the Grain was such a good song. I mean, everything's so good on here. It just I don't know, John. I don't know if I would I could see maybe putting this in A or B, but a C, I don't know. So I'm happy that Matt won out this argument. So
yeah, I had to.
I gave it to him, and honestly, Lewis, I didn't get much in return, but we'll find out later. But Matt's just a much squeakier wheel than I am, so I just sucked it up and I went with it. But I'll have to win one down the road. Yeah. Up next, we have Generator, which is another one I don't care for. Apparently, I'm like sacrilege against this Trinity.
That one's not the Trinity. So that one's like
of the quadrilogy. Yeah.
Quadrilogy. Yeah.
Lewis, take us away with Generator.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Generator, I always kind of think of as like the dark horse. I think it's a really good album. I'll just go ahead and say I put that in an A. I think sonically it sounds pretty bad. Like I think production wise, I think it somehow sounds worse than the other three. I know
Yes.
they remastered it at some point, and I've heard the remaster, and I mean, I think the results are negligible. It sounds pretty good. I think in terms of the song list, definitely its strongest part. Really good album. It definitely marked like a change in the sound a little bit, like evolving sound. Like I could say I love No Control and Against the Grain and Suffer, but they really sound the same. I mean they're very similar sounding albums. Really following that model. And I feel like Generator kind of opened it up there. And Generator is by far my favorite live song by Bad Religion. I think it just really always gets the crowd going. And I remember the first time I heard it, just going into the mosh pit when I was a younger man, having a really good time. I think the only thing I don't like about this album is maybe Two Babies in the Dark. That's probably like the only song I could probably live without. But otherwise, I think it's a really strong album. So it's an A for me.
And John, what do we have this one at, John?
I actually won this argument, and
Yes.
we are putting it in B.
Yep.
Where it belongs, because we haven't hit the meat of the Bad Religion albums yet. I am a terrible Bad Religion fan. I am tainted, and we'll get into that later. But yeah, we are putting this one in B, which I believe I'll have to check. I don't remember where we put this next one, Recipe for Hate. Lewis, if you want to take us into that one.
Yeah, Recipe for Hate. I guess that's gonna be my first B. I think it's a pretty good album. It's got quite a few good songs. I think American Jesus is one of those other songs that a lot of people associate with Bad Religion, obviously. Struck a Nerve is like a really good song with, it feels like crossover appeal, like them trying to be a little bit more mainstream, I guess. And they obviously dabbled with that sound a lot more. I really like Don't Pray on Me is a really good song. But I always felt like this album could have probably been like an EP and cut out like a lot of the extra fat. It has the same kind of, it's a little bit, I think sonically, like, I have to think about it. It sounds definitely better than Generator, but not much more, I feel like. It's pretty good. It's a B. So that's how I feel about that one.
Yeah. And John, I think we had this one as a, if I'm wrong, correct me, a C.
Yes, we did have it as a C, and
So-
I think it was a last minute one that we moved, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we moved this one because I think Lewis touched on it too. They could have cut out a lot of songs on here. I feel like some of the songs aren't that great. And I actually feel like this was a step back from Generator. I feel like this album kind of took a step backwards where, Generator's kind of leading them in a kind of a different direction. And, Generator does sound good. And then like this came out and I feel like, whoa, they just took a step back. This isn't as good as their other ones. And they're kind of going backwards. So that's why we put this one in C, I felt like.
Yeah, there's
Not that
definitely some
far
good
off.
songs on. There's some good songs on here, but yeah, I mean, we have to put 3 in C, so some of them are just gonna have to go here. Lewis, actually, you talked me into this next one going higher than I had it, and I spent a lot of time with this one the last couple of days, and I completely agree with you. Matt, I'll just say it. We ended up putting this in the A tier,
Yeah.
and I think this one's pretty solid. Lewis, what do you think of Stranger Than Fiction?
So you ended up ranking it higher than I did. So that's good. But I think you originally had it in C or D. When
Yeah,
you
I
were first thinking
did.
about
I
it.
did.
So, I really like this album. However, I will say I think Incomplete is like the worst album opening song they've ever done. Like it's not a very good song. I think almost everything else on the album's pretty good. Television is a terrible song
Yes,
as well.
I agree.
So let's not mention that. I mean, when you got Tim Armstrong going, "You're my lover, you're my heroine," it's like my favorite part of it. I would just listen to it for the lulz, I guess. But I do love a lot of this album. marked like is one of the ones that always stood out to me. Live Meant to Me is obviously growing, and Stranger Than Fiction, and obviously this was Interlogic's a really strong song too. I'm seeing you just scrolling them up, but obviously this was their first mainstream, right? So they re-released it with I think 21st Century Digital Boy on it. So that was trying to be their hit on this album, but I thought for most fans, even though they went to Atlantic, it's a really strong album. I'm gonna put it at B. It's good.
Yeah, so we had it as A. And then, Lewis, if you're looking at the album cover, can you pull the album cover back up, John?
Oh, it's right there, yeah.
Now, can you pull up on Spotify so it's a little bigger? John, thank you.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Do you know who does that look like on the Bad Religion cover? I think his name was Greg. He went to school with us, Greg Kahn. Doesn't that look like Greg Kahn on the Bad Religion cover?
I mean, a little bit. I thought you were going to make fun of the South Park episode where they make a Christian album, and that's pretty much the same thing they do. It's like one guy staring off into the distance.
Yeah.
It's a very 90s album cover though.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Very gritty feel.
Yeah.
But it's a good album. I think you guys are like, obviously we have a little bit of taste here, but I don't think there's a lot of daylight between our A's and B's on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Up next, we've got my second favorite Bad Religion album. This is where I feel like the band started to hit their stride. Now, that's not saying there's not some missteps coming up, but The Gray Race for me is just like a really perfect 90s punk rock record. I feel like it has like a lot of the edge of the earlier records, but it also has better production and maybe like a little better songwriting. Lewis, I'm curious where you stand on The Gray Race.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna rank it a lot lower than you. It's not to say that I don't like the album, or as I like to call it, the Crazy Taxi album, right? So I think a lot of these songs are in the Crazy Taxi game, right? Yeah, them and the Offspring over and over. I think it's a pretty good album. For me, it's a C, man. I got to be honest with you. I really like it still. Like I said, I still like these songs. Come Join Us and Cease are like the two album closers, and I think those are my like two favorite songs on the album. I know it was like people like the song, but I really always hated punk rock songs, so that one really skews my opinion of this album. I don't know why. It's a song that's never really sat well with me, and I don't have a good reason, just because it's so dumb, the name. So. But everything else about the album is pretty good, and I agree. And like A Walk is a really, really good song, I think. Yeah. So I agree mostly with your assessment, but I think in the scope of the other albums, for me, it's a C.
And Matt, you fought me on this one too, which is the reason why we don't have it in the S tier.
Yeah, John wanted this one in the S tier, and I said, listen, you cannot put No Control and Against the Grain in B and C, my man. He was about to have those in B and C. And I was like, if you do that, you're going to be murdered online. The people are going to ask if you're okay.
Oh, they're going to murder me coming up, man. I think you know why.
It was like when I heard...
Where did we end up putting this one?
Which one are we on now?
I think we settled on A.
Oh, yeah, The Gray Race. Yeah, we have it in A. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's S tier, but... Like I said, I lost almost every argument with Matt because I just don't have it in me to argue with him over it. And case in point is this next one here, No Substance. And I'm gonna have a little moment here because this was my first Bad Religion record. So some of you may consider me damaged goods, and that's fine. Like, this album gets so much hate, and I really don't understand it. Like, you can't tell me that Hear It, Shades of Truth, The Biggest Killer in American History, those are all great songs. Like, I've been defending this album to the Bad Religion purists for like over 20 years now. I have been banging the drum for No Substance as not a great record, but not the record that should be shit on by every Bad Religion fan in every Bad Religion forum. You will be hard pressed to find a single person that likes this record. And I have to say, in the Bad Religion community, there's a lot of frauds out there. I'm just going to say it, like, this record sounds a lot like The Process of Belief, and The Process of Belief is like lauded as this huge comeback. Like, did you guys even listen to this record? Because it is pretty solid. In my heart, I would put it in A, but Matt wouldn't allow it. So we ended up, I believe, with B. Now, Lewis, I said all that, and I know that you're one of the people that don't like it. So, what do you think about No Substance?
Well, I don't think I've given you shit about liking this album for at least 20 years now, so I guess I shouldn't be too offended. I don't consider myself a Bad Religion fan. I think I do agree with some of your statements there. I think I do hear a lot of process of belief in it. For me, I never really connected with this album, although I think there are a lot of good songs on it. Like the ones you mentioned is good. I actually like Mediocre Minds quite a bit too, and Strange Denial is a pretty good song. It just never really connected with me, and I don't know why. I mean, and I know I'm going to come off as someone who just like hates their Atlantic years, you know. But yeah, for me, this one's a C. But let's give them bonus for like using the sexy girl on the album cover, right? Very very late '90s type thing, right, John? So go right up there with Enema of the State. And what's the fun fact we learned the other day? It is the actress from Third Rock from the Sun is the cover girl on this. So it is a very late '90s album to me, but not one that ever really struck a chord, I guess.
Matt, what are your thoughts about it? Because you knocked me down from maybe an A plus to you wanted it in C.
Because you were going to have this better than No Control and Against the Grain. And I was like, there's no way that this album, again, another album is better than those two albums. Like, there's no way. So that's why I had to argue with that. Like, we put this one, where did we put this one, John? We put this one in...
it went to B, and I had to fight you for it. I had to give you both No Control and Against the Grain in S in order to get you to compromise.
No, I don't
think nothing. You got nothing in this deal.
No,
he did. He got a lot.
I got all of the A tier, and he got most of the S tier.
No, pretty much John has everything from A to D, and I got the S tier.
If we end up with the same S tier, that's going to be so weird. So we might be.
Who knows? But the next one, John.
The next one is one that I think a lot of the criticism is actually founded. Like this one, as much as like I like to have these kind of counterpoints, I don't like to have like hive mind about things, but like I have a hard time really listening to this whole record. Like I think a lot of the criticism is valid. New America, Lewis, what about you?
Yeah, you know, I go back and forth. I mean, so a lot of this one and No Substance really blend together for me, to be honest. Like, you know, you know, you're right. Like when I was younger, I was definitely part of that group that just said these suck and these are not Bad Religion albums, you know. But I gave them a fresh listen recently because I knew we were going to talk about this. I think it's an okay album, you know. I think it's a C, but Don't Sell Me Short is a really good song. It's strangely at the end of the album. So that's a really good Bad Religion song. I think there's a good handful of tracks on here, including like Hopeless Housewife I really like. And I Love My Computer quite a bit. I think it's a good song. You know, it's an okay album, but definitely a C for me.
Matt, what are you thinking?
Well, John, from what you said, we put this one in D. This one goes down to the D list. You made those points that you couldn't listen to this. I remember you texting me saying you had to skip this one numerous times, and I said, no, you have to listen to it. And we got in some arguments about this one. But yeah, this one's going down to D. It just doesn't meet the standards of the other ones that are above it. And we had to put some in D. So this was our last, I think, D1.
Yeah, we had to pick three, and maybe we had a cop out here and there, but whatever. But I think, guys, that part of what people say about this turn, like this renaissance of Bad Religion with Process of Belief, is true. Because I love this album. I think it is one of their best by far. Lewis, what about you? Process of Belief.
Yeah. Process of Belief obviously is like what the second coming of Bad Religion, right? So I remember this hadn't come out before I had heard about Bad Religion. I guess probably No Substance was probably the album that was most recent when I first found out about the band, right? So I didn't like those two, so I kind of figured, well, I guess I'll just like these old albums and I'll never like another one. But I remember going to buy this one on day one and throwing it in, and like Supersonic is a really good opening track and just like kicks you in the face. And this album just really keeps going. Like I don't feel like it has a ton of I don't think it has like really any bad songs. And I think it's funny that they left Atlantic And like I would argue like Sorrow is like one of their best crossover songs ever. You know, like has a lot of good mainstream potential. Like could have been really popular. I feel like if it got a push. Because I think Sorrow, I think a lot of people would think, I don't know about Bad Religion fans, but I think it's like one of the better Bad Religion songs. So for me, Process of Belief is an A, a strong A, and that might be a hot take because what I'm going to pick is S, but I feel like this was Bad Religion coming back in and becoming relevant again and back into the punk scene and like back to independent, man, because that used to matter, right? So pretty cool. So definitely a good album.
Yeah, and I think, me and John agree with everything that you said, and this one for us is also going into the A. So it was a good comeback for them. Like you said, all those songs on here. I mean, I can listen to this over and over again. I feel like this album withstood, time, and this is still a good album to listen to, now. And like just the songs, like you were saying, Supersonic is such a great song. And like Lewis, was this the song when we went to the Bad Religion concert and we moshed to it, and I felt like I was too old because I couldn't keep up anymore.
I don't know, man.
I was out of breath.
This was probably early. This was probably 2004. So I don't know. It might have been, but
yeah,
you were always kind of an old man when we were young, anyway. So I mean, you played. I mean, he was like an athlete, but he was out of breath.
I was out of breath. I was like, I gotta take a breather. But yeah, this one's definitely going into A. It's a solid album, and I think John, agrees. And I think the next one may be a better album than The Process of Belief. And that next one, John, is Empire Strikes First.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Empire is next. And Matt, I will say that I personally had Process of Belief in the S tier. It's another one I lost out to you, but I would not back down on Empire because it is my favorite Bad Religion album.
Yeah.
So we are putting it in the S tier because this one is it's just too damn good. Like the Sinister Rouge is one of my favorite Bad Religion songs. Los Angeles is Burning, God's Love, even that corny rap part and Let Them Eat War I'm okay with because the album itself is just so good. Lewis, what about you? Empire Strikes First.
Yeah, so I guess we are ending up with the same S tier because this is also S tier. We didn't discuss this at all, folks, either, so I'm as surprised as you are. Empire Strikes First is a very, very good album. I think the production, including even later albums, I think this is one of their best sounding albums. It's the most well-produced album. I think even points to John said the rap part is okay, but because that song rocks anyway, right? Otherwise, but God's Love is one of my favorite Bad Religion songs. A lot of my favorite Bad Religion songs all sound the same, but God's Love is one of them. It just sounds great. And I actually texted you yesterday that like the drumming is just so good on this album. Like everything about it. I think also why it's S tier for me is like, this was like we were like 18 or 19 years old when this came out probably. It's like 04 or something. So this was like when we were really going to a lot of concerts, and I must have seen Bad Religion like, I don't know, 5 times probably around the time of this album on this tour. So yeah, this is a really strong album. And just so I'm definitely an S. And by the way, John, I had Generator in an A, just for future sake in here, just to make sure. So.
All right. I thought I messed something up, but there we go.
You're good. I just noticed because I was keeping. I haven't paid attention either, so don't worry. But yeah, it's. But Empire is a really good album. I think a lot of people think Empire is pretty good, so I don't think this is this controversial. Maybe ranking it higher than Suffer is, but. It's a really good album.
Yeah.
All right. New Maps of Hell is next. It's another one I lost out to Matt on. I had this in A. I really, really like this one. I think that New Dark Ages is another one of my favorite Bad Religion songs, and Germs of Perfection is another great song. Like overall, I think this album is just so strong. And as you could tell, like I am a huge fan of later Bad Religion. And I think part of that's because these are the ones I got when they came out. So like I would go to the store, I'd pick this up, I'd pop it in my boombox, and I'd be like, oh shit, this is new Bad Religion. So I'm kind of biased that way. So hate on me all you want for the lack of love for the early stuff, but I think Bad Religion's post 1998 stuff, they're like one of the best bands still doing it. So I had this in A. Matt won out. We put it in B. Lewis, what about you?
Yeah, I'm a B too, but I agree with everything you said. So this is a really I debated between picking this one or Empire for A because I actually really like this album quite a bit. I can listen to this front to back again. Requiem for Descent, very similar song to God's Love, I guess, in the idea of it, just these short, quick Bad Religion songs, but another one of my favorite songs. New Dark Ages, Germs of Affection is an awesome song.
Yeah.
A lot, and then obviously even Dearly Beloved's really good. And then the bonus tracks on this album were really good too because they were acoustics of classic Bad Religion songs. I know.
Oh yeah,
I don't
that's
know if
right.
we
I forgot
covered,
about those.
yeah, I don't know if we covered the bonuses, but like they did acoustics of Sorrow and a couple other ones. I'm blank on them now, but of course,
yeah, the acoustic of Sorrow was a great acoustic.
So good. And then yeah, it's such a good album. But yeah, for me, it's a solid B, but like a really strong B. You know what I mean? It's a really good album.
Johnny, I would have allowed this one to go higher than the B, but something that got me a little upset is, I don't know, it's just, there's a song called 52 Seconds, and the song is 58 seconds. So that's why I couldn't put it higher than the B. If you're going to name a song 52 seconds, do it in 52 seconds, not 58.
All right, John, you can put mine in D now, I guess. I mean, that's got a really strong point. Like, that's fucked up. So we should, that is stupid, though.
Come on, guys. Math and counting is not punk rock. I let that
slide. That's true. Isn't this guy like Greg Graffin's a college professor? I think we got to make an exception here. But right.
Yeah, but it's zoology though. Let's be real. They don't count in zoology.
He doesn't know maths. Yeah, we're good.
All right. Up next, I think we get the first dip into the mediocre era of late Bad Religion. Lewis, what do you think of Descent of Man?
I hate this album. I mean, maybe hate's a strong word. This is by far my least favorite Bad Religion album. I think I'd probably listened to it maybe 5 times all the way through. And Bad Religion's the type of band, I think you said this in your Green Day review, that I try to make myself like the albums. Mm-hmm. I would listen to it in my car, because this was 2010 it came out, right? So yeah, I don't think I might have had an iPod, but it wasn't that good. So maybe I was still listening to CDs. I really tried to like this album, and I still don't like it. And I made myself listen to it again. I don't think it's particularly an objectively a bad album, but it just, I don't know. It sounds like a lot of B-sides to me. There's nothing, there's not a lot of songs on here that I'll go, let me just throw that one song onto this shuffle or this mix and get on with my day.
Someone to Believe? What about Someone to Believe?
I don't know. For me,
I love that one. The rest, I think there's a lot of mediocrity on here too. But
the first song, The Day That the Earth Stalled?
Yeah, people like that one. I don't like this album, so I don't know. I don't think you guys are gonna change my mind. But I know some people have a soft spot for it. So,
what are you saying? D?
Yeah. Yeah. I put Descent the Man in a D, man. Maybe it's a little too low for a lot of people. I know people like this album, but for me, not there.
Well, we need 3D, so
yeah, I tried.
Got to get there somehow. Matt, what about you? How do you feel about this one?
So I think, John, we're not that far behind with this one. I think we put this one in C.
Yeah, and this was a late move too. We had it in D, and then New America just outsucked it.
Yeah, so like you said, this was a dip. They took their first dip here. There's some good songs in here, like I mentioned. Probably the Day the Earth Stalled is my favorite one. I feel like, when you heard this song, when you put this on, this is the first song, oh, this is going to be a really great. And then I feel like it didn't live up to that first song throughout the whole album. So that's why we're putting it in C.
I don't like clever album titles either. Get out of here, Bad Religion.
All right, but they come back, guys, with a vengeance with this next one, True North. This one is just balls to the wall. This album is fast and furious. I really, really like this one. It could even be as high as S for me, but we're both out of space. So, Lewis, where'd you put this one?
Yeah, I really thought about making this one an A, but I couldn't do it with my other choices. It's certainly a B, but it's a B plus. It's a really great album. I mean, and as you said, it just goes like True North is like one of their best openers ever. It's so good, and I mean, there's just so many hits, so many good ones out here. Like Fuck You. I remember listening. I was on a work trip and listening to like Fungus or something like when it was still on the air, like on the radio, and Fuck You came on, and that was like the first time I was hearing that song, and just restarting this album and getting into it. And Nothing to Dismay is like a really good song. Solid B. I think this is the best album since, or slightly better than New Maps. So for me,
agree.
that's where I'm landing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think, John, this is one that you stuck to your guns with, I think, and we put this one actually in the A.
Yeah.
A.
Nice.
Yeah, this was one for John that he didn't want to budge on. So I said, listen, if you want to keep this one in A, you got to give me 2 S's, and that's going to be No Control and Against the Grain, and we can do this.
It could have been a whole nother show of us bickering over this list, because this was a 2-week ordeal, and I don't think either one of us is happy with the way it came out, which is what a true partnership looks like when you're both unhappy at the end.
That's like having children.
Yeah.
But I'm happy I got my own list, so I got to avoid all this.
Yeah. So, talking about happiness, I think the next one really hits that, and that's going to be the Christmas songs by Bad Religion. So
that's S plus tier.
We have a little. Where are we putting this one, boys?
It's not on the list, but I mean, Lewis, take it away.
I love Christmas songs. I mean, no cover album should be higher than a B, right, by any band. I don't think. So, but I think this is a really fun album. And O Come Emmanuel is the best one on this album, I think, personally. And I do listen to this album every Christmas. And actually, this year on Christmas Eve, when I was at my mom's house, I did throw this on the television, like streaming it, so that people would have to listen to it. I mean, luckily, it's over in like 25 minutes, but I think this is a really good cover album and a lot of fun.
Yeah, so if we were going to put this, I would agree with you too. This would go into the B, I think, for us, you know.
Agreed. Yeah, it's a fun novelty.
Yeah, this is the fun one. But the next one up, John. Where are we
putting guys? I want to hear your take. Yeah.
Age of
Unreason. Honestly, I feel like this is like another like step down. Like I think there's a couple of good songs. Like I think Candidate is actually a really great Bad Religion song. It kind of has like a feel of Process of Belief, but there's not like a lot of standouts. It reminds me of kind of how I felt when I heard The Descent of Man. Like it was like that. It had that one song in the middle, but it was surrounded by like kind of like mediocre mid-tempo rock songs. It just doesn't do anything for me. And I believe we only have Space and C, so by virtue of that being the only thing left, it is a C tier for us. So, Lewis, what about you?
I made it a D because I think I have a spot left. So, yeah, I don't want to feel like I'm hating on late Bad Religion. I guess really on any day of the week, I could maybe swap out one of these with, I don't know, New America or No Substance. But again, I do recall some of the songs on New America and No Substance, and this album, like Descent of Man, I rarely would ever go back to. You know, it's exactly like you said, very big downstep, just kind of, I don't know, just kind of filler. Like, to me, it's elevator music. Like, you know, when you drive a long distance and you don't remember how you got there, that's how I feel at the end of listening to this album. Like, I'm like, what did I listen to? And you know, I was kind of I was down on this album, like, because they had put out the song "The Kids Are Alt-Right" before this, and that song sucks. I think a lot of people think that sucks. But so I was like hoping this was going to be kind of a comeback, but this sucked too. So I'm just kind of hoping we get back into the True North formula. For their next few albums, I think True North is a great album, and if they kind of stick to that formula, they can continue to go, or they can retire because they got to be like damn near 70 or however old they are. But yeah, it's a D.
We have to talk about how bad Big Black Dog is. Like that has to be the worst Bad Religion song. Like with the dogs barking and they're like, my God, what these guys are in their like late 50s and they're having like a song called Big Black Dog with dogs barking. Come on, like
it's a really bad album, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Would you rather listen to Television or Big Black Dog?
Television.
Yeah, because Like I didn't watch your full Rancid episode, Matt, but did you do your Tim Armstrong impersonation? Because it's always fun. Like
No,
listening to
I
Tim
did
Armstrong
not.
sing. Yeah.
We may have to save that for a later day. Maybe we
Yeah.
do it now. My mouth is a little dry. I don't know if I can do that now.
Oh God,
This is not Church Hill Dam. This is not Hollywood Park. Well, the field's wide open. I'll pick the horse who got the biggest heart. Let him run, let him ride, let him go down the track. There you go. Golden Gates Fields.
listeners at home. By the way, we drove down to South Carolina one time, and he did this the entire ride. So to me, it means a lot. And I'd rather listen to that than Black Dog any day of the week. So
I'm with you.
Yeah. Good times.
Well,
Good times.
look at the list. We didn't end up that far apart. We actually had the same S tier. It's pretty close. I don't like being labeled a Bad Religion expert, but because
Well,
but
to us, you are.
Yeah,
guess
you're
so.
definitely an expert. You had the scarf.
I have the scarf. I have the lighter too, which I didn't show. But I have all this crap. I have the Christmas ornament. I didn't want to dig it out. It just went back into storage. But yeah, I'm definitely the biggest Bad Religion fan of you too. So I'm happy to be here. But yeah, look, there's not that much difference between us. I think John, you and I have always not seen eye to eye on the Late Atlantic, and like I don't hate it. You know what I mean? It's just not going to be my first choice. You know?
Yeah, and I fully admit to being like wrong with a lot of how I feel on Bad Religion. I know that No Control, Against the Grain, and Generator are like fantastic records. I believe everybody. It's just for me personally, I just never felt it. I never had that connection with them that I did for the later stuff. And maybe I'm just, like I said, I'm tainted. I'm broken from having No Substance as my first Bad Religion record. What can I do? You know, I can't go back and change it. It's just the way I feel.
I want to get like all of the Bad Religion fans like into the unknown now, and just to make you even feel worse. I don't think anyone's gonna ever like Into the Unknown though. I think we can all agree on this tier. You know, we have D's. Our lists are very different there. I think Into the Unknown should be the final album, like in that sequence. Like that album sucks. Like I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, like I avoided like listening to it, not really just because why would I go out of my way to listen to something that's like universally hated? But like yesterday, I like pulled up YouTube and I was like, well, here we go down the rabbit hole. And like I listened to the whole thing, and
I will say Billy Gnosis isn't bad. It's like an okay song.
So for Into the Unknown, guess how much you could buy it on vinyl for right now?
It's a lot. I looked it up. Yeah, but go on, tell them.
$350.
Yeah.
So I guess it's more of a collectible piece than you're going to put this on and play it.
I don't know if we're into the realm of cutting this out, but the last time I saw Bad Religion was in 2019, I think, before I left Madison, and I believe they did play a song off of Into the Unknown, which was pretty funny. Because I had to go back and listen to songs, because it's not often I would go to a Bad Religion song and I'm like, what goddamn song is this? And I'm pretty sure that they were playing Billy Gnosis. I did hear that they had worked some of these songs back into the middle of the set list just to mess with people, I guess. But it was pretty interesting.
Why not, man? After like 40 years as a band, you got to mix it up somehow.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, guys, any other anecdotes, stories, anything you want to say about these records before we sign off?
No, I'm good. I think this was a solid list. Both of ours are different, but I feel like a lot of them could be interchangeable. So I think we kind of nailed this one. I think everyone, or mostly everyone, would agree with us on these tiers.
And for anybody who doesn't like my list or wants to disagree with me, I'm not on Instagram, so go ahead and say whatever you want. So have a good time, and I'm sure the boys will tell me if we get torched. But it was a lot of fun to be here, so I really appreciate you guys bringing me in and get to talk to you about religion. I know I've been joking around about all of these stupid products that I own, but Bad Religion's a really important band for me. Like I've obviously bought all this stuff, just because you got to buy merch as a kid and you got to get it. But a super important band, and like how I look at, I don't want to sound corny here, but it really changed the way I looked at the world, as a younger person and listening to the songs. And obviously it's not everything, but what you read and what you hear and all this stuff really is important. And Bad Religion really fueled a lot of that. And it was, find that band for you. And if it's Bad Religion, like, we can be friends. But if not, find whoever that band is. So it's a great thing to find something you really love. And I love me some Bad Religion. So
yeah, well said, man. I mean, that's what music's supposed to do. I think it's the perfect way to sum it up right there. What you just said.
It was beautiful. It really was.
I'm gonna go cry now. No, I'm kidding.
All right, guys. So that is going to wrap up our Bad Religion episode. We do have blind band tiers coming up on Saturday morning. We are going to be on episode 9, I believe, and we have 5 spots as of recording this left. The prize is going to be 25 cassettes by Blue Light Tapes and 100 stickers of your band's logo. So make sure you sign up. We're having a blast doing it. And like I said, we only have 5 spots left. So make sure you sign up, get in on the episode so we can get you reviewed before March kicks off and get you into our March Madness bracket. It's going to be a blast. So do that, like and subscribe the video, and we'll see you next week with Blink 182 tiers.